If it is a Trump-Vance ticket in the White House, do we have to be careful, or does big tech have to be careful what it wishes for? There are a lot of backers of J.D. Vance from Elon Musk, etc. But there is also a narrative surrounding Vance that he could shake up big tech.
You know, I think that's one of the areas in which we do have to question what the technology sector will look like with a Trump-Vance presidency. When you start to think about, Vance and his prior statements on big tech, his relationship with Peter Thiel and how he also, even though he's a big venture capitalist, has been very anti-government, very much in which to dismantle the administrative state. I do think, big companies like Meta and others might be worried as to what this presidency may look like, particularly at a time where I think there's been some big tech that has tried to play very well on the bipartisan side. I honestly think with a Vance presidency, little tech will probably benefit more, and there'll be less room for negotiation or insight from the companies who've had privilege to President Joe Biden and Vice President Harris.
Nicol, important for our audiences here is the commentary that we heard from Donald Trump about imposing, if he is elected on November the 5th, imposing harsher tariffs on China, higher tariffs, but in the region of 60 to 100% and 10% tariff on all other countries. J.D. Vance is a China hawk. Is that the icing on the cake here?
I think that's one of the reasons why J.D. Vance was selected. I mean, let's be real about it. He definitely has this story that I think is going to shift the narrative for Trump because J.D. Vance, as a senator, has done policy. And I think he's going to be able to take some of the rhetoric that Trump has actually spewed around China and perhaps come up with some policies that I think are going to really be the nail for how the Chinese government and the economy is going to interact with us here in America. The problem going forward is at some point, you're going to have to disentangle the differences between the two. And I think there's some subtle differences that have not yet come out quite clearly between the two that will become more apparent as the campaign wages on. I mean, J.D. Vance has some statements on record outside of the things that he said about Trump previously that also are adjacent to his policy making. And as we all know, Trump, when he speaks about China, doesn't have very kind words to say, even if it's not, in some way rooted in policy. He's just going to say it anyway. So I do think it's an interesting choice, and I think China will be at the center of the debates for both the Democrats and the Republicans. I think it'll be a different approach, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to be something that we're going to see on both sides of the aisle being discussed.